Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse. This is episode 11. That's the one after 10 and before 12. Today, we're going to be talking about Superflex 2 quarterback, tight end premium, ADP values, according to Fantasy Pros ADP. Producer!
We've really got to get one, man. I seriously
Producer's a little bit quick on the trigger there.
These hands, they're just too big. They're just too big for the freaking mouse. Jesus.
Hit the button too quick and didn't cut off the black part. Good job. Okay, so I'm reading over the show sheet here, and I segment 1 intro, me, 4 minutes. All right, so 4 minutes. What am I going to talk about for 4 minutes? Okay, welcome to the Dynasty Pulse. I am Biggs at Big Boned FFB. He is Grimeberg at FF Canuck 99 over on the tweet box. Today we're talking about our ADP values at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end for Superflex, Dynasty, tight end premium, and it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. It is piggybacking off some content that we've done before. You know, go back through our library over on the Fantasy Football Plus network, and find other shows that we've done where we talked about who we're drafting in specific rounds, who we're fading, and all that stuff. But this is a little bit more specific. It's a little bit more streamlined. We are focused. We're focused. I'm focused. Mike's focused, and we're here. We're here to help. Go ahead and like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Fantasy Football Plus Network bringing you loads of great content. Thanks to shout out Bradley Stalder and all of our Dynasty Pulse shows, etc. Hit the bell so that you can, when an episode drops, you get a notification on your phone. Comment, share, follow us. All of the things that we do, and 4 minutes, huh? Okay. So
you don't need to go for 4 minutes.
Oh, but it said 4 minutes.
I'm going to add into here. Let me add in one thing. I hope you like our new digs, because we got to do a huge shout out to Travis Seal, who rebranded this Dynasty Pulse, and it looks awesome. Thanks for our new intro video. Thanks for the new everything you hooked us up with. It looks awesome, man. So wicked job.
Shout out T Seal. Travis, thank you, sir.
Yeah, we love you, man.
Oh, you know what I forgot to announce? And I've talked about it before, but it's draft season. It's draft season, baby. Draft week. I've got 4 episodes coming out with positional experts. I got Noah Hills on running backs. I've got Andrew Cooper on tight ends. I've got to be determined on quarterbacks and to be determined on wide receivers. But all of that should be hitting the Dynasty Pulse, the Fantasy Football Plus Network, and the Undroppables, and my channel, the Fantasy Burn. It'll be hitting all of that leading up to the draft. So make sure to check that out, watch it, because, if you're not listening to experts, who are you listening to?
Exactly. Listen to us, man. Totally, all the time. So
yeah, don't take my word for it. Listen to Noah Hills. Like, dude does the work. We coming over from our previous show, we had a little thing that I like to say, and even before, like, Mike and I got together and started doing content together, I like to say I do the work so you don't have to, and that work I do is reading Noah Hills and Andrew Cooper, and so, like, I dive, they deep dive, and so I will be bringing we because Mike's part. Mike and I are like the one with Zan and Jane. We activate a form of content. I don't know. I'm trying to fill up 4 minutes. And,
you're not having to do any 4 minutes. It's not. It was because we were supposed to be on a timeline where we have no timeline now. We don't have a, it's all good, Biggs.
Who's your ADP value at quarterback, Mike?
Okay, let's get into that. Okay, so my ADP value at quarterback, and it's not like super valuable, but he drafted up and he is now shooting up the boards. He's a value to me because he's being drafted as the quarterback 5. What? That's crazy. How could it be any more valuable than that? And I think CJ Stroud has done that for me, especially in the last little while. He is only 23 years old this season. He is poised to be a high-level NFL starter for the next 10 years, if not longer, in my opinion. Fantasy managers with Stroud look like they have their quarterback position solved. His only flaw really people see in his game is that he's not really a runner. However, fantasy managers want a quarterback that run the ball, and Stroud just doesn't do that as much as the other, top guys in this category. But he's only, had 4 games of more for 15 yards. So that's not a big rushing component to his game. With Joe Mixon now there, he may even run less, but he is still an ADP value to me, and he's a gold mine because he finished as the QB7, had only played 15 games in 2023, and no other quarterback selected in the top 5 in the last, since 2012 has looked as good as CJ Stroud, other than Andrew Luck. He didn't even have a really good supporting cast, in my opinion. Yes, Nico Collins is great and Tank Dell is there, but he made those guys, in my opinion, shine. They are talented guys, and they're top NFL wide receivers. Don't get me wrong, but CJ Stroud definitely brought out the best in their games. He made everybody around him better. Arguably one of the weakest wide receiver rooms headed into 2023. It was incredible to see what Stroud did with the supporting cast he had. He displayed incredible high ceiling. He scored 42 fantasy points in week 9. That's incredible as a rookie. He's a gifted passer of any one of the guys in the top 5. His deep completion percentage ranked in the top 5 last season as a rookie. Now you bring in Stephon Diggs and he's in the picture. Stroud destroyed against both man and zone coverages last year, rating above 102 in both. So he is just making stars out of Nico Collins and now Tank Dell. So he legitimately is a starter for at least 10 years, if not more, with the style of play. He is smart. He knows his stuff. What rookie has stormed the scene like CJ Stroud, and the supporting cast he has, his longevity alone puts him in a value higher for me, because guys like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, they can only have rushing upside for so many years. And what separates him from others is his passing. Jalen Hurts the last year is concerning to me, the longevity of him as a starter, especially with, Shane Steichen leaving, the ball security. So Stroud to me just presents a more safe floor than some of these guys, and they want to put him around with weapons. So I love CJ Stroud moving forward, and I think he's still a value at quarterback 5. I just wanted people to get really into the situation there and the potential of a guy that has just been lights out on his rookie season, and they're bringing in talent around him, and he's just sky's the limit for CJ Stroud, in my opinion.
There you go. Yeah, that's you make some pretty good points. I like CJ Stroud. I like him a lot. And I'm not as high on him as you are, but I'm definitely higher on him because of you, because of the work that you put in, and I appreciate you, Mike.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, what do you got for your quarterback? I know who it is. I already know who it is.
You know why you know? Because we drafted him in our Undroppables expert league, and And we've done enough shows together that I've talked about this guy enough. ADP 13 in Superflex quarterbacks. A guy who finished. Let me just check real quick. It says here PPR 3, 2023 PPR. Like Dak Prescott is at ADP 13, QB 13 according to ADP. Sleeper has him at PPR 3. He was actually PPR 4. He came in just behind Lamar, but he was closer to Lamar, the number 3, than Jordan Love, the number 5, was to Dak. Dak Prescott, you know, it makes me think of wine. You know why? Because wine gets better with age, and that's why I would put Dak Prescott ahead of CJ Stroud. Quarterbacks are like wine. They get better with age. Whiskey is the same thing. You don't want a whiskey that's a month old. You want whiskey that's like 21 years, right? Dak Prescott is 30. All right. And you know what? He does it without having to have that rushing upside. 200 yards, a couple of touchdowns. You know how many touchdowns he threw last year, Mike? 36 touchdowns. We're talking like we're entering Tom Brady and Peyton Manning territory with Dak. He's got CeeDee Lamb, who's like hooked to the belt. He doesn't need a whole bevy of, second tier wide receivers. He's got the receiver, CeeDee Lamb. So I don't understand how he's taken out of the top 10 in Superflex. It's baffling to me. Dak Prescott has 2 seasons with more than 35 touchdowns. He has 2 seasons finishing within the top 4 in PPR as a quarterback. He's gonna do it again. And if they draft up Braylon Allen, somebody to keep the defense on its toes with a battering ram style. Let's do better. Like what when Prescott was healthy and Zeke was there, shine. So it's baffling to me how Dak Prescott is 13th in ADP. You guys, seriously, draft Dak.
I agree with you, and I would have had him as my guy, but I let my boy Biggs take him because that's his guy, and I wouldn't do that to you because you got a lot of passion for Dak Prescott, and I agree with it. I agree.
I hate the Cowboys, and the only connection I have to Dak Prescott is one of my good friends is his cousin. It's just baffling to me that somebody who puts up the numbers that he does is not as highly regarded as he is. That's the only reason that I'm talking about him. It's not like I root for him. It's just like, holy crap. How are you not seeing this? How are you allowing, he should be every team's first quarterback target in a Superflex draft. How does he become like our second? It's crazy to me. But I appreciate you.
Hey, it is. He's got that situation, and he's got some years left. So hopefully he can get his contract too. So we'll see what happens there. So let's get into the running backs here, and I'm going to start here with an ADP value that I think is an ADP value because of past performances, and some of us think he's past his age cliff, but I think that Josh Jacobs,
Raiders legend Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I think that Josh Jacobs, with Jones out of the way and AJ Dillon a mere backup, the path is cleared in my eyes that Jacobs is going to take on another big time role in this young offense that's just getting going. He rushed for 5,500 yards in his career. That's pretty big numbers. 68 rushing scores, only second behind Derrick Henry since 2019. He led the NFL just 2 years ago in rushing yards, 1,600 yards from scrimmage, 2,000 yards. Wow, that was a big season in 2022. Do you remember that season, Biggs?
I think I saw a game or 6, 7, 8, 17.
Yeah, so that was a monster season, and in 2023 he didn't have that quite of a good of a season. He missed 4 games. He only rushed for 805 yards, only 1100 yards from scrimmage. His yards per, carry went down. Yes, but you know what? That was all career lows. A lot of that might have had to do. I talked about this in length a lot of times with you about his contract and playing under the tag and not, knowing that this next contract is going to be a big one for him. He didn't want to, jeopardize that. And now he's in a really, really good situation, in my opinion. And the Packers are counting on him to have a bounce back year from this former first round pick. He's a first round pick, 26 years old. So yes, he's close to that age cliff. I would say he's still not quite at the peak, but just on the verge of it. So I think he's got a year, maybe 2 left of good fantasy production. And Jordan Love likes to check down at times. He threw 94 check downs last year. And I think that Jacobs is going to really reap the benefits of that. I think he's going to hit a career high in targets this year if he can stay healthy. That's the situation. He's just 2 years off of that RB1 finish, and I think it could happen. In the last startup that we did in the Undroppables League, he went as the 508, the 9th running back off the board, right around where I think he should be, in my opinion. I think he should actually be ahead of Saquon Barkley as the RB8. So him going as the RB13 and him going in the RB9 in this startup, I think is right around. I think there's a lot of value there in Josh Jacobs, especially if you're a contending team, especially if you want to contend early in a dynasty startup. He's a guy I would target. And that is my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a league in which there include owners Chalk, Jax Falcone, Wiz, FF Coder, Travis Seal. Like we're talking Chef Jay Beasy. We're talking like sharps that know what they're doing. And if Josh Jacobs is the number 9 running back in that situation, that's pretty close to what reality is. 4 spots back in ADP, people are slipping a little bit. Take it from somebody who's been watching Josh Jacobs for the entirety of his career. I would, my memory isn't that great, but I would lay a bet that I've watched every game that Josh Jacobs has played in as a pro. He's gonna feast on targets. He is a guy that in a Raiders system that didn't throw the ball a lot to the running backs, he was still getting 50 to 60 targets a season. And he was more than capable of doing that. He was my first running back off the board last season in the Scott Fish Bowl. It didn't pan out the way that I had hoped just because of, the Josh McDaniels situation and the injury late in the season. But I mean, the guy's not done yet. So whether you take him as, the 13th running back or a little bit sooner and wait for a breakout, not a breakout season, but wait for like a standard season and then dump him. He's going to bring you a lot of value back to somebody who's like, looking to kind of make a move up. He's going to hold value. The guy is not going anywhere. Anybody, wherever you were taking Aaron Jones last year, Josh Jacobs is going to exceed that draft position and that production. What Aaron Jones' capability is what I'm talking about, not necessarily what he actually did, but however you thought Aaron Jones was going to be last year, Josh Jacobs is absolutely going to smash that this season. And yeah, I like him a lot.
All right, man. What do you got for us? I bet you I know. Is he the predecessor of the one Josh Jacobs, maybe?
Of course. And we're bringing you 2 Raiders legends in a row. All right, so this kid, Zamir White, nicknamed Zeus, out of Georgia. When he came out as a rookie, everybody was saying he can't catch. Look at James Cook was the receiving back at Georgia. Well, yeah, that's the way the situation was. James Cook was the receiving back in Georgia. Zamir White didn't need to catch the ball. White sat behind Jacobs. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to put a rookie in over the guy who's leading the entire NFL in rushing? No. Next season starts, and you're not going to make that switch. But Zamir White, once Josh Jacobs went down last year, he got a little 4-game audition to end the year. And what did he do? 3 out of 4 games, over 100 yards in total offense. Lit the place up, 4.3 yards per carry. Now, if you look at 17-game season, and he was averaging 21 carries while Antonio Pierce was the head coach, you give him 21 carries a game for 17 games at 4.3 yards per carry, you're looking at a 1,500-yard rusher, plus somebody who was averaging about 3 to 4 targets per game. That's another 50 targets that you're looking at, just like Jacobs. Zamir White is the guy, and he's being drafted at ADP 32. So if you were to take the RB1 from every single team in the NFL and then slot Zamir White right behind them, what are you doing? There's no way Zamir White is going to be the RB32. So take him as your RB2, and he's going to finish with a top 20 finish. I say my flag plant is he's going to be a top 10 running back to finish out the season. But I'm kind of crazy. So don't, take what I say and then give yourself a little bit of realism to buffer it. But 32. Again, I'm talking value here. I'm talking Dak at number 13. I'm talking Zamir White at number 32. What are we doing, people? We're stealing. We're stealing. When did I get it? We did an underdog draft the other day. I got Zamir White. I went 0 RB and took Zamir White in the 6th round or something like that. What is happening? Love the Zeus. Love the Zeus.
Yep. Yeah, I do too. And there is some concern about them bringing in a guy at the draft. It's hearsay, but I mean, I don't know if anybody is going to outreign him anyhow. Even a Will Shipley, like you mentioned in one of our shows in the past,
Fantasy Football Advice Network, Fantasy Forecast. It's redraft, but
yeah,
go watch it.
Yeah, Will Shipley is a guy that could potentially go there, and I don't mind that for either situation. So I mean, even if they bring in a guy like that, that's not gonna put in too much competition for him. Shipley would be a 3rd round back for them, and I do like Zeus, and at that ADP, how can you go wrong, especially at this stage of the game? Wow, crazy value there.
Hey, let's move on to wide receivers, bud.
Yeah, man. And I got a wide receiver here, and
oh, do ya?
I do. And he is wide receiver, my wide receiver 7 in Dynasty as a startup here. And that would be one Malik Neighbors. And he is going as the wide receiver 11, which is still pretty lofty. And it's aggressive, but it's important to put that into perspective when you think about this class. And this class has been pronounced as one of the top heavy classes in the last decade. Marvin Harrison, Adunze, and the guys after them are kind of clouded. But Malik Neighbors here is a guy that you got to really look out for. At LSU's Pro Day, he just completely showed out. He was one guy that tested. Marvin Harrison didn't test, and I'm not sure he needed to with what we saw from him. But Neighbors did, and he just showed out. He measured where he needed to be. He's as top of their tier talent as they come. And some people, including myself, have him ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm a gambler in that situation. I just see some upside. I love his yards after the catch potential. I saw numbers that he put up at his pro day that surpassed Jamar Chase in so many categories, and that just to me brings a lot of light to my eyes. He was clearly the number 1 target in that offense, and they had Brian Thomas Jr. 89 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 14 touchdowns. That is a monster year for a guy in an offense. That offense was just dynamic, and his speed, his physicality, his footwork. He'll immediately be utilized as a team's alpha wide receiver with just great target volume. He'll win all over the field. He's a guy that could just be all over. And I love it. His great separator, his yards after the catch is just special. He turns little plays into monster ones, and his yards per route run is elite. His first downs per route run is elite, second in the class, only behind Marvin Harrison. It's just important to know that he is one guy that could be just special, and I have him there. And I have him ahead of guys like AJ Brown. I have him a guy just barely ahead of Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison Jr. is my wide receiver 8. It's just splitting hairs at this point between those guys. And Rome Odunze isn't too far behind. But as values here, Marvin Harrison is being ranked a lot more aggressively than Neighbors, and I just like that situation better as far as room to grow. And Neighbors is the guy for me, and he's my wide receiver 7 in Dynasty, and that's a value when he's being ranked as the wide receiver 11.
Yeah, he's drawing comps to Jamar Chase, and I totally agree. Given the right landing spot, the right situation, Malik Neighbors, he could be a top 5 wide receiver as early as his rookie season, which is not something that traditionally we see in fantasy football. In fantasy football, usually it takes rookies the first half of the season to do nothing, and then they start to go off if they break as a rookie. That doesn't happen very often. Puka Nacua is an outlier, and everybody's looking for the next Puka. If there's going to be a Puka, Malik Neighbors has the size, he has the speed, he has the athleticism, he has the explosiveness, he has the track record. He dominated in target share at LSU, which was like a pretty incredible room. It was the number 1 offense in NCAA. His production stats are off the charts. I think he's a more well-rounded wide receiver than Marvin Harrison Jr. And when I say that, what I mean is he can do more. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a standard X receiver. He's going to be outside. I think that Malik Neighbors is going to be able to be moved around. He's going to be able to put in slot situations. Mm-hmm. He's going to be able to he's great. He's great in short yardage, great as a deep threat. The dude is an absolute monster when you really start to break everything down. And the guys who are our video goblins, they're seeing the same things on tape as the guys who are staring at analytics charts. I mean, the sky is absolutely the limit with Malik Neighbors. And if we fast forward to April of 2025 and somebody says, Malik Neighbors is the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football, look at him, he just finished as the wide receiver 1 as a rookie, I will not be shocked at all. I apologize. I started laughing and got red-faced because the aforementioned Undroppables League drafted Tom Brady. and I saw that while we're recording, and it kind of cracked me up because the round before that, I picked Rob Gronkowski. To be fair, we're in the 80th round of that draft or whatever. There's no viable picks. But for the lulz, that's absolutely perfect. Yeah, I love Malik Neighbors too. My wide receiver ADP value. I mean, shit. I'm trying to remember my train of thought, and we'll pick it up here. My wide receiver ADP value is Demario Douglas of the New England Patriots. Now, when you look at the wide receiver room of the New England Patriots, you're looking at Juju Smith-Schuster, KJ Osborne, Kayshon Boutte, Tyquan Thornton, Kendrick Bourne. None of them is a wide receiver 1 in any room. But Demario Douglas led the New England Patriots in targets last season with a combination of Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappi. The Patriots brought in Jacoby Brissett, who's going to be an improvement over either of those two guys, but they're definitely going to target a quarterback in this class. Everything has to do better for Demario Douglas in 2024, and he's going as the ADP 68 wide receiver. Now, you can draft him as a wide receiver 5. That's totally fine, but expect him to have top 4 wide receiver stats. He's going to be a great flex play. He's going to be within wide receiver 48. Yeah, I love him as a value, and nothing but up for Demario Douglas.
Yeah, man. Dom Diggy. He gets split on a dime. He's that shifty, and yeah, there's not much else out there. Like, yeah, I like that call. You're all about the value, Biggs, and our viewers are getting the most out of it. So let's get into the tight end here. And for me, as far as ADP value, I'm talking more of like the upper end type tier, and Biggs is kind of attacking kind of like the lower, like the mid-range guys, which is giving you all a really good scope of some really good values in all your rounds. And I think we planned that. It was just planned that way, and it ended up working out good for y'all. So here is my guy that you should be targeting and as a tight end, especially if you're going to wait on tight end. And ahead of the 2022 season, Evan Ingram signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Jags. Well, he did prove it, and then he got paid. He had a huge 2022 season, and it led into another really big season for him in 2023. But what's really impressive about Ingram's 2022 season was his utilization. He was targeted on 22.6% of his routes run, and that led all tight ends, especially in the slot rate. Then came this year in 2023, where Ingram saw his value pretty similarly headed into the draft, but his season going off, he ended up as a tight end too, and he had impending free agent Calvin Ridley come in. Still didn't matter. There was injuries in that wide receiver room, and it didn't overshadow because he was overshadowed by guys like Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, because he took such a slide in his rankings and his production last year. It just made such a big difference. And Evan Ingram went under the radar. He finished 2023 with 144 targets. 144 targets as a tight end. That led to 114 receptions, and it turned into 963 yards and 4 touchdowns. He led the Jags in targets, and he commanded a 22.6% target share. Ranked only second in that category to TJ Hawkinson, who didn't play a full season. The Jags did nothing in free agency to make me think that he won't be any less productive this year. They lost Calvin Ridley to free agency, and they took a step down. Yes, potentially they might get somebody in the draft, which I think is a very, very good possibility. But you go into this year as Christian Kirk as your number 1 wide receiver, and he's a slot guy. Not my most ideal situation. This is a guy that had 143 targets. 143 targets last year. Let's not forget about that. He's emerging as a tight end coming up, and he can't argue that he's a steal in drafts at this stage of the game. Regardless if you think Ingram is a value or not, he's a borderline tight end 1 in Dynasty, and he's currently the tight end 11 overall. I think that is crazy in my opinion. He's still only 29 years old, which is a good range for tight ends. That's a good sweet spot. He has at least 2 to 3 years left on that, left in his tank. He's got 2 years left on his deal. He's most likely a Jag throughout 2025. I love what his situation is like. I think, Evan Ingram, 143 targets speaks for itself. And I think that's going to kind of be a similar situation this year in 2024.
Absolutely. I love Evan Ingram. He was an absolute steal. He was a league winner. But I'm looking at a guy.
Who is your guy?
I'm looking at a different guy. He's not your guy. He's my guy. He finishes PPR tight end number 8 last season. He's going off the board as a tight end 16 in ADP this season in tight end premium. He is only 25 years old, 6'6", 260. And guess what? He's going to be catching passes from Caleb Williams. I'm talking about Kmet. Tight end 16. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. I'm winning leagues with Cole Kmet, Demario Douglas, Dak Prescott, and Zeus. Come on. Get out of here.
Yeah, man. I like those calls. You know, we've got some really good late round value. We got some really good top end value.
Oh,
we hit all the bases.
According to at Koopa Fiasco, shout out Andrew Cooper. There is a specific profile that you're looking at for the tight end position. You want a guy who is ideally the second target share on the team. That doesn't happen a lot. So if that's not the case, you want a guy that's going to get either 90 catches or 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns isn't a sticky stat. You don't know what a guy is going to do year over year. However, when you're looking at Cole Kmet, you're looking at a guy who has over 90 targets 2 out of the last 3 years. That is production that, I mean, you're going to see production at the tight end position. So grab him as your tight end 1 and have faith.
Have faith in the Kmet. And I think the Cole Kmet situation is in good hands with the Caleb Williams around. And even if they bring in a wide receiver, there's still a lot of mouths to feed. And Cole Kmet is a value there. So you heard it here first, everybody, on the Dynasty Pulse, on the Fantasy Football Plus Network. Love it, love it, love it, Biggs. What do you got to finish off the show today for the folks?
Well, we're going to do a show that's going to be a breakdown of our Undroppables draft. I've been writing it up pick by pick. We're going to talk about the values. We're going to talk about the players. We're going to talk about all of that stuff. And then we'll be giving you guys updates throughout the season next year on how we're doing against, like I said before, sharps like Chalk, who wrote the book on dynasty drafting, Jax Falcone, who's got one of the best podcasts in the industry, FF Coder, Wiz, who's he's an analytical genius. We're going up against all these guys, and we'll keep you up to date as to how we're doing. Yeah.
So, and then next week is the draft. So there's going to be a lot of situations that we're going to have to deep dive. So it just doesn't stop here on the Dynasty Pulse. We are the Pulse. Our hearts are going strong. And we're bringing you the heat every week. So keep it up, Biggs. We will be here every week. Tell us, everybody, where they can find you and all your amazing work, my friend.
Right there at Big Boned FFB on the Twit machine. Hey, go to the Undroppables, undroppables.com, Undroppables YouTube channel. I got shows. I'm writing articles. Go to the Fantasy Burn, search that on YouTube. That's my interview show with content creators. Raiders Unrivaled over at the Undroppables. Dynasty Pulse right here. You're watching it right now. Fantasy Football Advice Network. Mike and I doing the Fantasy Forecast. It's a redraft show to help you out with your having a great time. Love allergy season. Fantasy Forecast is a show that Mike and I are doing to help with your redraft leagues over on Yahoo, ESPN.com, NFL.com, CBS Sports, etc. Your work league, your family league, whatever. Dominate the redraft. Watching the Fantasy Forecast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the bell so you can get notified when our next episode drops.
Yeah, and you can find me on the same stuff. You can find me there at the Twitter machine at FFCanuck99. Same idea as Biggs. I'm on the Undroppables. You can find my Chiefs Uncovered show, bringing you the Chiefs news. You can find me here on the Fantasy Football Plus Network with the Dynasty Pulse, and also the Fantasy Football Advice Network with the forecast, and also a player profiler. We do the Wednesday and Friday show for player profiler today.
Forgot about that.
You don't
player profiler today.
Yeah, and live also the news desk.
Yeah. I forgot. So watch Player Profiler today, live 4 p.m. West Coast, 7 p.m. East Coast. You'll see me. I'm going to be talking about NFL news, and yeah, that too. We're doing so much.
Yeah. All right, folks. Until next time.
I hope you win.
Hope you win. And here's our great outro video from none other than T Seal. Thanks, bro.